graduated from Journey Academy's Launchpad in May of 2024, and not long after, I had the incredible opportunity to join the staff. First as an admin assistant, and now I'm honored to be serving as an apprentice guide. My journey began in the fall of 2021 when I joined as a sophomore in high school. From the very beginning, one thing stood out to me more than anything else: the culture. In that first year, there were only 17 of us in that Launchpad, but soon those other 16 learners quickly became like family. We created a space where everyone felt seen, heard, and respected. It didn't matter who you were, anyone could hang out with anyone, and everyone was expected to hold one another accountable. We encouraged diverse opinions, honest feedback, and meaningful conversations. There was a balance of fun and friendship, but also a deep sense of focus, purpose, and mutual respect. That foundation shaped my junior and senior years that I was so grateful for. One of the most impactful parts of my experience at Journey was the mentorship I received. Whether it was through apprenticeships in the community or meaningful relationships with the guides on campus, I was constantly surrounded by people who saw potential in me and helped draw it out. Acton's model doesn't just prepare learners academically, it places a high value on real-world experiences. I had the chance to pursue apprenticeships in fields I was interested in, ask deep questions, learn from professionals, and truly discover who I wanted to become. My guides were not just teachers, they were mentors, role models, and encouragers who helped shape my character and confidence. Having that kind of support and access to real-life opportunities was life-changing. Another aspect of my Launchpad experience was my next great adventure work. Preparing for graduation pushed me to seek experiences that led to where I am now. Working through the challenges led to find my current calling, guiding. NGA work shaped who I wanted to become, why I was passionate about it, and who I would impact. What made Launchpad truly unique were the systems and tools that Acton puts in place to help learners lead themselves. We practiced courageous conversations, used peace tables when conflicts arose, held town hall meetings to make decisions as a group, and constantly returned to our studio contracts to remind us to who we were striving to become. It wasn't just a classroom, it was real life training. We weren't just told what to do, we were trusted to take ownership, solve our problems, and lead ourselves with integrity. Now being on the other side as an apprentice guide, I get to watch learners experience that same growth and transformation, and it's honestly one of the most fulfilling things I've ever been a part of. Out of everything I've shared, the one thing I wish every Acton parent knew is this: failure is progress. This mindset is essential for learners to thrive, both in the studio and at home. Failure isn't a setback, it's a sign of growth. When parents truly embrace this truth, it frees learners to take risks, step outside their comfort zones, and embrace a growth mindset. It allows them to internalize the belief that they are capable and are even a genius. Those experiences I shared would not be as impactful if I hadn't been given the freedom to fail publicly. Thank you.
Pain is inevitable, but suffering, that is optional. Hi, I'm Esther Briggs, and I go to Acton Academy Bee Cave here in Austin, Texas. This year, I tested a theory. The theory that nothing you do has to be miserable. When you're miserable, you have two options. You can quit or change. Quitting is the easier option and does work in some scenarios, but not in most of them. So let's talk about changing. What does that actually look like? Changing your mindset is hard. It takes willpower, strength of character, and real motivation. So, I compiled a set of 4 steps to help you change your mindset to not be miserable. First, you have to want it. You have to want to not be miserable. Second, you have to believe in your ability to do it. Believe in the power of the mind. Third, you have to know your why. Fourth, you have to commit. Once you commit, then it's like a light switch. Everything changes, just by your perspective. With your why in mind, you make yourself happy. Okay, so math. That is misery. That is misery for me. But I have to get it done. So I choose to make it not miserable. My why. I need to do math to get a diploma to graduate. I want to do it happily so I don't grit through it. And I committed. The switch was small but instant. Okay, so there are also other things you can control to make this switch easier, like your body language and your environment. So for math, I did it where I was comfortable, I had people I enjoyed around me, I had a little drink, and I had my snack, and most importantly, I was smiling. And I was happy while doing that. Wild, couldn't have imagined it. So, I changed what I could control. That is the power of Acton. It doesn't make life easy. It makes you strong enough to enjoy the challenge. Okay, what feels miserable to you in your life right now? I challenge you, don't just push through it, pause and ask, how can I make this enjoyable? Parents, if your child is miserable, don't ignore it. Ask the deeper questions. Misery isn't weakness, it's a sign of misalignment. Yes, life will be hard. It's meant to be. But misery, that is a choice. So stop accepting misery as normal, change the mindset, change the space, change your body language, and watch hard things turn powerful.
Hey, is this on? It is. That is a lot of cameras. Okay. So, how many of you in this room have asked, or for Launchpadders have been asked recently, what do you want to be when you grow up? I know, yeah, hands going up. I have asked, and I've been asked that. And if I can be honest, I think that's a bad question. Because what you want to be when you grow up is nothing compared to who you become when you grow up. Our world today has this focus on success is getting a prestigious title and being being a CEO or a doctor or a lawyer, but I think that's the completely wrong focus. And here's a question that should help me explain my opinion. Imagine you've got 2 kids. Many of you do, and many of you more. Imagine you have 2 kids. This first kid is an excellent student, very successful at school, gets great grades, and they're a liar. They cheat, and they're a victim, and they're just a generally bad influence. And your second kid, he works some job somewhere in an office, doesn't matter. But this kid is a hard worker. He's disciplined, and he helps others, and raises the bar, and he leads, and he spends meaningful time with you and your family. Who would you rather have as your kid? And who would you be more proud of? Now, I'm also asked a lot, what do you learn at Acton? Like, you have no teachers, you have no classrooms, no lessons, no homework, none of that. What do you learn? And again, I think this is the wrong question. Because it's not what you learn at Acton that matters, but who you learn to become. And at Acton, you learn to become someone amazing. Now, let me give you some examples of how. Servant leadership at Acton teaches you to be someone patient and kind and selfless as you put those younger ahead of you. Quests teach you to be a lifelong learner and to embrace a growth mindset. Giving deep book pitches and speeches like I am right now teaches you to be brave and embrace your fears, because this is always terrifying, even after my 4th year. The Socratic discussions teach us to be ethical and know who we are, and know how to take a stance and defend it, and be able to change our minds. I could go on for hours, but Jake said I only have 2 minutes, so. And that is what makes Acton so important, in my opinion. It's not the skills that you learn, which are super important and set you miles ahead of your peers. It's who that you learn to become. And that's what I wish every parent, Acton or not, knew about sending their learner to an Acton Academy, is that they will learn to become someone you can be proud of. They'll learn to be strong and have grit and be kind and put others first and lead and set the example, and they'll learn to be a hero. Now, I have something I need to confess. At the start of this speech, I told you to imagine 2 kids, one, great student, terrible character. Second, works some job, I don't know, not important, fantastic character. Those kids aren't imaginary. As you might be able to guess by now, those were both me. When I was in middle school, before I went to Acton, I was a fantastic student. I had honor roll, gifted and talented, the whole 9 yards. And I lied, and I cheated, was a victim, and bad influence, not proud of it. And then I went to an Acton in 8th grade at Heroes Academy, and 4 years later, I am up here a completely different person. I plan ahead and take initiative. I think I set the example. I push others to try harder. I try to be kind and supportive, and I embrace challenges as opportunities to learn. And that's what I wish every parent knew about Acton. It's not what you're learning that matters, it's the change that Acton can inspire in a young learner. And it's a change that I lived, and I will never forget that change. And I hope you don't either. Thank you.
Academy is not a school. It's more like a journey for lifelong learners and independent thinkers where character is built alongside knowledge, and every day is a step towards the next great adventure. I'm Ella Henderson, a hero at Arts Thereafter, an Acton Academy located in St. Cloud, Florida. This marks my 5th year with Acton Academy and my 4th year in the Launchpad studio. From a young age, I've always had an old soul. While other children were captivated by current things, I found solace in old music and traditional ideas. However, the traditional education system posed challenges for me. In kindergarten and 1st grade, I attended a public school where playtime was just limited to 15 minutes a day, and standardized tests were used to judge our abilities and intelligence. Both of my parents were educators in the same public school I attended. My mom taught theater and language arts, and my dad was a science teacher. One day, my mom noticed me walking into school with a quiet and reserved demeanor, as if I was getting ready for war and putting on armor. Concerned, she spoke to my teacher saying, "If she's being difficult, send her to me and I'll nip that in the bud." The teacher looked at my mom with a blank expression and replied, "Jennifer, she doesn't speak." My mother was taken aback because I've always been a lively and outgoing kid, greeting everyone we passed in the supermarket and never knowing a stranger. My mom could see how I was changing and not for the better, so she pulled me and quit her job. That's when my family and I crossed the threshold to start our hero's journey, the journey of opening an Acton. I wish every parent understood that education should focus first on building character, not just academics. Academics are important, but they grow quickly and steadily once character is built. It's character traits like grit, time management, communication, teamwork, and decision-making that truly drive academic success. When children develop these skills, they're not just learning subjects, they're learning how to be a hero. It's about preparing for the long game, not just chasing short-term wins like grades and report cards. That's exactly what Acton represents, a commitment to character-driven growth. I recently spoke with a Launchpadder about what their distant family members thought of Acton. It turns out they believed all the studios were completely unsupervised and chaotic, full of constant arguments, no structure, and zero accountability. Clearly, that perception is the farthest thing from the truth. And it doesn't reflect what Acton truly is. In reality, there's quite a bit of accountability here, whether it's through our contracts, where we work together to create a true civil society, or our peers holding each other to a high standard and continually pushing each other to higher levels of excellence. Acton follows a work hard, play hard mindset. I think society has conditioned us to believe that only adults can hold young heroes accountable, but Acton proves otherwise. We hold each other accountable. I think society has conditioned us to hate each other when we disagree, but Acton proves otherwise. We learn to disagree civilly through Socratic discussion. I think society has conditioned us to believe that young people cannot do hard things, but Acton proves otherwise. We do real, hard things every day, and we welcome it. I'd be lying if I said Acton is uncomplicated and easy. In fact, it can be quite challenging and filled with struggle, especially when occasionally dealing with the 3 monsters: resistance, distraction, and victim mentality, or coming home crying after you got a hero buck taken away, or even getting a rejection email for an apprenticeship. Yet, over time, these challenges and struggles have been instrumental in shaping my character.
Acton has molded me into the individual I am today. And without it, I wouldn't be on the verge of graduating next week, equipped with the knowledge of learning how to do real hard things. How to learn anything we want, but most importantly, how to be a true hero.
Hi, my name is River Tompkins, and I'm a graduating senior in my 10th year of learning at Acton Academy West. Recently, I've had the privilege to visit Actons all across the world, and in doing so, have met with hundreds of Acton parents. Today, I'd like to share with you the most common question that I get asked, and that is, how has Acton prepared you for life after school? Right? Parents want to know, like, does the model actually work? And my response is a resounding yes. Not only will Acton graduates survive outside of school, they will thrive. This is because we are getting real-world experience at a young age through programs like apprenticeships, Stars and Stepping Stones, quests, and more. The entire goal is hands-on experience that is applicable to every single industry and will even help a hero find that field of interest. This actively builds learners' confidence while creating a baseline for professionalism, creative thinking, and work ethic. I've seen firsthand as Acton graduates enter college or the workforce with so much professionalism, leadership, and creativity that it puts them far above their peers. I can also offer a personal testimony of the opportunities that Acton has unlocked for me. Because of simple skills like networking, cold emailing, and public speaking, I've started multiple businesses, I've gotten into my dream college, been able to travel the world while making a positive impact, forged deep relationships, gotten so many apprenticeships, and just made wonderful connections. All of these achievements are a result of utilizing the toolkit that Acton equips each and every learner with. In summary, I believe that Acton is no longer a flash-in-the-pan experiment, but instead, like Jimmy said, a proven formula for developing strong leaders and with a calling to change the world. Thank you.
If somebody had told me when I was in middle school that I would be speaking in front of pretty much every owner of the Acton network, my first question would probably have been, do I get a badge for that? This is reflexive. What do I get out of this situation? I think if I were to look at it now, the question I'd be asking, what can I make out of this opportunity? There's an island in the Caribbean named St. Croix. And on that island, in the 1760s, lived a boy. That boy, by the age of 14, was working as a clerk, and by the age of 17, he basically owned the store he worked at as a clerk at. Until one day, a hurricane decimated half of that island in 1772. This boy was without a family and without a home, but instead of giving in to victim mentality, he instead wrote a letter. And that letter inspired wealthy businessmen on that island to send him to America for an education, where he became the aide-de-camp to General George Washington and a co-founder of America. That boy's name was Alexander Hamilton, and it is his story as to why we have one of the greatest musicals of all time. That musical was created because he was not normal. Because he was a leader, he stood out in a sea of normal human beings, and that is an Acton mentality. At Acton, we don't look for answers. We look for better and better questions. We don't give in to temptations. We don't have others lead us. Instead, we look for the challenges. We lead teams. We fall on our faces. We receive feedback, and we get back up stronger than before. I have met loads of high schoolers who are unsure, even scared of what is going to happen after graduation. Every single one of those Eagles I've talked to knows where they're going. They know where they're headed, and that is what Acton does. It gets you pointed in the right direction. They are ready to prepare to brave their own hurricane and to embrace the opportunities that lie afterwards. Thank you.
It's hard to share your true self, whether it be from fear of rejection, being misunderstood, or isolation. 7th grade me was very familiar with all of these things. And as much as I tried to keep these insecurities at bay, arriving at school only to be greeted by 1 or 2 meaningful connections per day wasn't helping. This lack of community and input resulted in an aimless education, confined to a constant schedule of doing work for the sake of getting it over with, and interacting with others out of obligation rather than genuine enjoyment. I moved forward without purpose, with no ambition, and blind to any vision for my future. This all changed when I moved to Acton Academy. It wasn't just another school. It was a crucible for my character and work ethic. Attending Acton Academy in my freshman year exposed me to a world of education that was not only organic and eye-opening, but also actively challenged me to bring out my full self in all that I did. Whether delivering a presentation to a live audience or participating in a deep Socratic discussion, I was always encouraged to contribute my own perspective and knowledge. What mattered wasn't that I was right or wrong. It was putting myself out there to gain helpful feedback and to grow even more. This growth-minded environment was only made possible by the unwavering values and high standards of the community of the Launchpad studio. Not only is it a setting where an open mind is the goal, but those within it genuinely have your best interests at heart and want to help you soar to new heights through truthful reflection and thoughtful feedback. Being a part of the Acton community has allowed me to find both the value in all the work I do and also understand how I can apply the effort and lessons learned towards what will come after. That vulnerability that I trusted my peers and guides with resulted in me realizing that what I pursue after high school doesn't have to conform to a system, but can originate directly from who I am and my passions. Now, on the precipice of graduation, I look ahead with excitement and confidence, not just in the journey to follow, but in the person who I've become. I stand firm, knowing that this path is true to me, and armed with the strength to endure failure and the humility to carry success. Before I take this next step, I just have one more thing that I'd like to say. Thank you, Acton Academy.
I hate school. I don't learn anything. I'm there all day, and for what? To work the rest of my life and then drop dead? This might be very bold to say in a room full of Acton founders, but those words were exactly what I told my mom back in middle school. Before I discovered Acton, I attended public school. Day in and day out, I showed up for one reason and one reason only. I had to be there. The fixed learning style had squashed any love I once had for school and in that learning. My family and I stumbled upon Acton the summer after, and after shadowing for a day, I immediately fell in love with the flexible learning style. That fall, I enrolled in our MS studio as a 7th grader. Over my 6 years at Acton, the most character growth I've experienced has been through NGA. I had the opportunity to explore entrepreneurship and eventually found my calling in commercial video production. I completed internships, I had stars and stepping stones interviews with professionals, I've done contracting jobs, and most importantly, I gave 2 NGA talks that greatly helped me sharpen my story and direction. We've all tried to explain Acton to somebody who's never heard of it before. Yeah, we're a school, except we don't have teachers, and we work at our own pace, and we're not a high school, we're a Launchpad. What? That's the reaction we get every single time. But after a conversation, they're leaning in and they're asking, why isn't every school doing this? So here's my challenge to you today. How can you build a Launchpad that doesn't just run NGA alongside it, but actually integrates it into the core of your studio? How can you encourage the pursuit of internships? How can you encourage deeper interviews? And how can you encourage more meaningful conversations that give our heroes real clarity and confidence as they launch into the real world? How can you guide your studio to become comfortable being uncomfortable? Thank you.
My mom took one look at the public school system and just knew that it was not for her kids. So she started Scholé. We first operated out of my house, then moved to a church, then moved to another church, and then shockingly, we moved to another church. Locations changed, but one thing always remained constant for me at Acton: community. From the very beginning, the community of fellow travelers at Acton was a place where you didn't have to be cool to fit in. You didn't have to worry about saying the right things, wearing the right things. You could be you. As Acton Eagles, we constantly encounter new challenges that push us all out of our comfort zones. From Number Lab to delivering our next great adventure speeches to a large audience, one thing still remained constant in our challenges no matter what: community. At Acton, especially in a smaller Launchpad, you are basically forced to get along with your studio mates. While this might seem like an unwelcome challenge, it actually results in a superpower you develop as an Acton Eagle. You learn to connect and build community with all different kinds of personalities. Personalities you wouldn't normally have connected with. In my years as an Eagle, the connections I have built with those that I would not have normally built connections with are often some of the strongest that I built. To me, Acton isn't a school, it's a family. It's a community that welcomes failures, a community where you know everyone has your back because you have theirs. At Acton, we meet lifelong friends, future business partners, the fellow travelers that we will pursue our callings with and change the world. It is because of all of you that families are being brought together, and I believe I speak for every Acton Eagle I've ever met when I say thank you.
I'm going to answer is, what do I wish every parent knew about being a learner at Acton Academy? Well, firstly, Acton isn't a school. It's more like a workshop for dreams. Now, dreams aren't made into reality out of thin air. To make the best use of this special opportunity, this workshop, there are 3 major principles I want to share with you today. Firstly, your child will not end up loving everything. We talk a lot about preparing for the real world. And in the real world, you have to do things that you don't like. While yes, part of Acton is being able to work ahead and change inefficient systems for the better, the other equally valuable part is learning how to work with or around what you don't like and can't change. Speaking about things you can't change, let's talk about people. Your peers at Acton make or break the most important parts of the experience. The engaging discussions, the insightful critiques, the memories. They don't work without good people by your side. You can always encourage someone to improve and grow, but you can't force people to be good or the right fit. Acton is not the place for everyone. So parents should try Acton, and we should all encourage our peers and our children to be the best they can be. That should always be, regardless of what type of school is best for them. So lastly, I've noticed we talked a lot about iteration and innovation at this conference. So I want to talk about something that will never change. As a learner, I get out what I put in. You can coast through school, earn a diploma, and go on with your life. Or you can take a truly incredible opportunity. And with enough dedication, leadership, humility, and all these other heroic traits, you can turn your little dream into a calling that will truly change the world. The best part about Acton, and something that everyone needs to know, is that it'll always require that committed choice. Thank you.